I
You
bought
rolling
that.
on it?
Yeah.
The mango one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's like 1985.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Yeah.
We'll be
All right. You said you ready? Cool. Hi, y'all. This is a tune called The Pine Leaf Boy two-step. We wrote this in 2004. We were in the studio and we wanted to have an original tune. And we used to call this the 145 two-step. And it's just a fun theme song for the band. And here you go. This is how it goes. It was actually a song we played from the HBO show Treme a couple years back. And it's a fun little ditty. It goes like this. Cool.
Still good.
What's that?
Both.
Oh, for
Bow,
Pine
bow,
Leaf
bow.
two-step? You said bowing at the end? Is that a thing?
No. I start harmonizing Chris's fiddle ride. Never know, you know? I don't know what he's going to do. Somehow.
If you can unify these guys you've never met in a song that they've never heard. I was watching Dewey Cox tonight.
Yeah.
All right, that was one. One down. And I don't think we can do it better than that. So, cool. You ready for the next one? All right. You want to tell them about the next one?
Yeah, the next one is called If You Leave Me. C2 Keat is a little two-step that I wrote a couple years ago. It's about a guy who says, if you leave me, I'm probably going to die, and that's it. So there you go.
It's a happy song.
Happy Cajun song. C2 Keat.
Spoiler alert, they didn't leave you.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, that's why he's so happy. Here we go.
Thank you.
That's great.
Wanna do one more? Or
I thought it was
you
perfect.
okay with it?
Oh yeah.
Okay. I definitely missed some, but
I didn't notice.
It's quite high in the key.
No, I thought it sounded good. I like it. You push it. You're working.
Mm.
Yeah.
I worked in 5 months. What it was like.
I'll get up there.
I just went 5 months.
Well, that was good. Okay, number 3. Here's one that I wrote. Piano is my first instrument. I love chords, and I always try to introduce a lot of chords into Cajun music. I know Lee Benoit is another one who always writes a lot of music and has a lot of interesting chord progressions. And I know y'all visited him recently. And,
yeah.
Here's one that I wrote. It's called. What do we call this one? No, the other one.
Oh, Traveling Man.
Okay, Traveling Man. Okay. This is one that we just recorded on a new CD, which isn't out yet. It's called Traveling Man, and it's got a fun little melody and some interesting chords for Cajun music, and it's kind of got like a Zydeco feel to it. We call it Traveling Man. We've traveled a lot of places. We've been to about 20 something countries in this world, and it's just a tune about. It sounds like you're riding a horse when you're listening to this tune. And of course, we flew in an airplane to get to those places, but you know. So anyway, Traveling Man.
One, two.
lyrics too.
That's it.
There's only 2 words in the whole song. Cool. That was great.
Working it up right.
Ooh, it is humid out here, y'all. I don't know if anyone told y'all that, but cool. So that's 3. Any input or everything sounding all right? All right. That's fun. We can do Te Para Man,
Yeah.
and then the
Life's Too Short.
Life's Too Short. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well,
F.
F.
Give me a minute.
Yeah, sure.
Which what's the one that we're doing?
Yeah, this one we don't play too often. I'll go over real quickly. Te Para Man. I recorded. In fact, I found the old Omar Capacity CD. That's what it is like this. And that you. That's it. Yeah.
Give me a second. Hold on, just
Sure.
check it.
You want that bow?
Did you vote?
It's up to you if you want it. It's kind of cool.
You guys haven't played at Augusta?
With a vet, that was the
And
best
she
ever.
voted.
Oh, so good. You know this song?
I mean, we did an amazing version. Drew on guitar,
Yeah.
Fred on bass.
You
I got
can play
bow
triangle?
bass.
Yes, I'll play.
Yeah. I'm gonna do the whole thing, but I'll do some of it.
United Harbor and email. United One Pass. United Club passes are available now.
You just gotta take a trip.
So I told Jenny, I might just go to Houston. Hang out there in that airport all
I had
day.
some friends who flew from France here recently, and on the international flight, the entire plane was empty. They had the entire plane to themselves.
Surprised
Yeah.
the plane went.
True, I know. I guess they have at least one flight over there. I know. It's. I tell you, right? I was on a kayak the other day. Like, if you want to fly anywhere right now, it is cheap. Fly anywhere you want.
I don't think you can go to Europe right now.
You can't go to Europe. No, I'm just saying like the whole U.S. or Seattle.
I'd rather that you wait.
I wish you were on a kayak looking for flights.
It's been so long since I looked at kayak for flights. I was like, why are you in a boat looking at flights?
That's how long it's been since you lived.
That's how long it's been since I booked a flight.
Run through it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, right here.
Cool.
What was it? It was like Taco Bell's can.
Taco Bell's can.
Taco Bell's can. You know that song?
You can totally do that, yeah. All right. You ready?
Just do like the end.
Cool. So many years ago, Drew and I were up in Michigan doing a little gig up there, and late at night, I think we were sharing a room. He was listening to headphones, and I heard this melody coming out of his headphones, but it wasn't at all what I heard. The song he told me he was listening to was Madame Sostand, which isn't anything like this song, and I thought, wow, what a beautiful tune. I could totally hear a friend of mine, Jason Fry. I could hear him singing that, but it never was recorded. No one's ever heard it. It turns out I wrote a song right then and there. And we wrote some words to it, and we call it T'es pas la même, which means you're not the same. And it's just about like dating somebody and knowing somebody, and then like all of a sudden, like overnight, they shift, and they're not the same person that you once knew them as. And so I'm sure everyone can relate to that on one side or the other. And it's called T'es pas la même, you're not the same. We recorded this on our Hommage au Passé record. Here we go.
Be fun.
Cool. looking.
Coming.
Big storm in the south.
All right.
Yeah.
Any
Okay.
rain yet today?
Yeah, it rained hard earlier around noon.
It was raining when I left my house today. Come here.
Really? No. Yeah.
Of course, I left it raining.
Yeah. Right.
The long way around.
Yeah.
So,
It's called every light.
you life too short, and I'll just sing the
Yeah.
French word.
You want to tell them about it?
Yeah. All right. Ready to go? Next song? Okay. So we're gonna do a little tune that a couple buddies of mine, they had a melody, and Jamie Beard and Bobby DeMontre had the melody. They didn't have any words to this song, and so I wrote some words to the song. It's called Vie trop court, which means life's too short. Life's too short around to sit at home and watch Netflix all day. You gotta get out and get out and about.
Except
Have a
during
good
this.
time.
Except during this
And
pandemic.
of course, yeah.
Life's too short, but
wrote
stay
that-
home.
I wrote
Yeah.
that back in pre-pandemic.
Right.
Yeah, life's too
Different
short, but if you
times.
stay home, it might be actually longer. So it's actually the words are going against the actual
Yeah.
meaning of what we're supposed to be doing. Okay,
Great value.
Song hasn't aged well.
So life's too short.
but stay home and wear your mask. Okay. Oh, man, my bad. I'm playing Channel Football Special.
All right, let me. Yeah. Triangle or
No, that's great.
I like
Triangle. Oh yeah. Man, okay, sorry y'all.
Wow.
We haven't had a gig in a long time, alright? So, alright, here we go. Oh Christmas.
Very good.
Well, that's how it comes out.
Hey, it's only 4 months away.
Can't wait.
It's time to start planning. I'm already designing the rice bag for Christmas.
Rolling chairman.
Why don't you get in the front?
Here. This is it. Sounds great. It's real bright.
That's the one that came out of the trash?
Let's fix it up.
I thought you brought that out of Phil Goose trash can.
I think I did.
Like way back when we lived
What
like
in the world? He just.
I don't know, he
There was no
like
string, there's no bridge, you know, so we're just like, I don't want to spend the money. It's awesome. Yeah. Well, here, I'll put it here and this, you can sit down.
Oh, you know where Brent would play with that? One in North Carolina.
Alright.
With
Piners?
Piners.
It's not clear.
Yep. Still a nicer one. I passed by that one.
The US Open's gonna be in a couple years?
Next year. Couple months.
Anytime? Okay. Well, we are here in Brobridge.
Close.
We were twice in Brobridge filming, so, sorry. We are here in Lafayette, Louisiana, and the Pine Leaf Boys have just played a fantastic set, and I am privileged to, on behalf of the state of Louisiana and Northwestern State University and the Louisiana Folklife Center, present this award to the group for a contribution to the preservation of Louisiana's folk cultural traditions. The Pine Leaf Boys are inducted into the Louisiana Folklife Center's Hall of Master Folk Artists, Northwestern State University, July 2020. And this is a well-deserved award.
Wow. That's
Thank you.
amazing. Speechless.
Wow.
This is beautiful.
Thank you so much.
What, this is just fantastic. Thank you so much.
Hall of Masters, and we're not that old.
This is
We should be
fantastic.
playing for a
Thank
lot
you.
longer.
We've been
Thank you.
playing now for what we started this band in 2005. It's been
15 years.
Yeah.
Well, also there's a sense that the band is here to stay.
I like to believe so. If we can get through this pandemic and everyone can, you know, hopefully, yeah, this is great. We have a lot more to do and a lot more places to go. We've been to a lot of countries, but a lot we haven't been to yet. So this is wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
This is great.
Thank you.
I planned that all year long. I forgot to. Why do you play music?
I played music most of my life. My parents are both musicians. My dad literally builds the accordions and plays them very well. My mom wrote the book on Cajun music a long time ago. When I was just a baby, she was going around interviewing all these great Cajun musicians like P.B. Broussard and Ken Ray Fontenot, and you list them, and I'd go with her, and I was just exposed to this great music as a kid. Dennis McGee visiting our family, and it was always around. So it's just like saying, why do you speak English? It's the same reason. You were just always surrounded by it, and you just absorbed it.
For me, I was kind of a late bloomer with music in general. I was 18 or 19 when I started playing. And then I just, at the time I was in college and wasn't really doing anything. Didn't have a lot of friends, I guess. And so I met all these guys and we started hanging out and playing music together. And it's just fun to play music, to learn different instruments and stuff. And they all play different instruments. So yeah, I just started hanging out with them and then we started a band. And then it's kind of, I never really thought I'd play music for a living. When I first started, but it kind of just fell in my lap. So I've ran with it for a long time now. So yeah, that's why I play.
I was just always very struck by the older guys, the old generation that would whenever we'd have like any kind of party or get together, family function, there was always, not family members, but people in the community that were always playing music. And I realized later that they were world-class musicians. I thought they were really cool, and I just wanted to do like that, and ended up falling in with this bunch, and here we are,
Yeah, same thing as Wilson. My dad played music all growing up, and I got to watch him travel a lot overseas, and so I wanted to do that. So I told him that I want to do that when I grow up. He said, try to get through school if you can. So I did. I finished school, and just a few months after I graduated, I had kind of a good job. Then Wilson called me. He's like, hey, be in the band? We leave for Canada tomorrow. So I was like, yeah, hold on, let me call my boss, and I quit my job, and then
And if you could take it back, I'm sure.
They won't take him back.
That's awesome.
so here we are.
Never knew that. So yeah, kind of like Thomas and Wilson. It's just been a lifelong thing. My parents started going to the jam sessions at Mark's shop. I guess probably when I was like 4 years old or so, and right around that time I started taking fiddle lessons, and I was just kind of like always riding in the back seat with them to go hang out in Eunice or Mamu or wherever the music was, So as far back as I can remember, that's.
How long has it been since you guys have played together?
Well, we've had some changeovers. The musicians have changed over. But these three have been since the beginning, these front 3 years. Since 2005, we started the band. But we were playing in 2004. That's when we got kicked off campus, I think, or somewhere around then.
Yeah.
But and then these Thomas joined us back in 2008, I think.
Yeah, doesn't it?
So he's been with us now for 12 years. And Chris he was playing with us at our very first gig ever back in 2005. But then we met Cedric Watson, and Chris was busy with Fufale, so Cedric Watson joined the band for many years. And then he went on to do his own band. And then Courtney Granger joined for, almost 12 years. Yeah, and then his health got pretty bad. And so Chris Segura was like, hey, you played with us so many times before, you want to play with us full time? And then the pandemic started. So we haven't really played that many gigs in this lineup yet. So
Well, as a pandemic question, how long has it been since you had a...
March is
Out in
March-
6th?
again, out in the world.
March 5th or 6th.
That was my last gig.
The
March
last
6th.
gig, I just wrote a little essay about it tonight. But the last gig we did was the first weekend of March. And every gig since then, we kept thinking, oh, there's another one coming up, maybe that, and then boom, canceled, canceled. And right now, we have no gigs at all in the future, zero.
We've been hearing that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
How does it feel to play together again?
It's great. It's we're playing acoustically. It's like a fun house jam. I do miss playing on a stage for people who are dancing and sitting in the audience and drinking.
I sorely miss being loud.
Yeah.
Like as an electric guitar player, I mean, nothing acts the same until you get that,
That crunch.
yeah, until you push it into the amp has to get past like 4 or 5,
Yeah.
and to feel it's not, yeah. Man,
Acoustics only go so
I
far.
miss that
Right.
so much.
I've been a lot of acoustic music, which is fun. It's great, but I do miss playing for people and playing amplified too.
Yeah.
With a microphone, because
Absolutely.
everything's different with that. And these two guys, they play almost every week at Randall's, and so I'm sure they're
Used to.
They work
Yeah.
with it, yeah. But no live music indoors right now. So
Right.
we've been finding ways to do little gigs outdoors if we can, or
Yeah.
whatever,
But there's something really kind of cool and traditional about having to play acoustic.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Well, this music was originally all acoustic.
Yeah.
My dad said the first time Cajuns discovered an electric guitar, all they did was cut the cord and plugged it into the wall outlet and plugged in the guitar, and of course they were electrocuted to death.
With your
That was
sound
that was where the Cajuns first discovered electric
We
instruments.
miss
and,
those guys.
Lost a lot of them.
so of course Cajun music in the 1950s got real popular with electric bass and electric guitars and all the steel guitars. So that's always been our sound, the really rock and heavy drums,
Right.
heavy bass. But when we started playing on the UL campus, we used to play at the university. We just go for fun and sit on the street and play music, and that was all acoustic. So in a way, this thing has brought us back to doing how we started. It's really made a full circle. And it's kind of cool because we have been very loud for many years. It's kind of cool to just take a step back, and we know it's going to come back eventually.
Right.
But this has just forced us to find other ways to play music, whether it be Facebook Live or jam sessions outside on the street again, kind of getting back to our roots.
Right.
Yeah.
So, how would you describe what the Fine Leaf Boys play? I mean, I get Cajun music.
Right.
Really, how would you describe what your band plays?
Our sound has changed a lot over the many years. When we first started, we wanted to be very traditional. Like, everything in French. In fact, I was trying to sound like an old man because all my life I'd only heard old men singing. So I was just kind of emulating that sound with my singing, and just trying to figure out what are we even supposed to sound like? What are we doing? And we never really had much guidance. It's like, just do whatever you want. We never wanted to be a band that felt like we were trying to create a certain sound, Then as time went on, we've been to polish that sound a little bit more and figure out, define more what it was, and we're still bringing things in and taking it back out and always experimenting. But I'd say we're a band that's influenced by not only Cajun music, but rock and roll and hillbilly music and anything, country music. And we have so many different influences in the band. And so it's just a Cajun band with a lot of talent and a lot of variety. The trick is not to go too far out and become an Americana band. You got to keep it somewhat. We decided over the last couple of years that the world is lacking a cultural music. You know, let's maybe do a little bit less Little Richard and Jerry Lee Lewis and bring it back to doing more French, which is how we started.
So in other words, there's something important to retain that is unique to Cajun music.
Right, like we found ourselves over the last couple of years, we're always experimenting, and we try to read the audience's reactions, and we do a boogie woogie on the piano, and tear my shirt off and just singing and sweat flying. Some audiences love that and go crazy over it. But then we're playing some festivals, and some people are like, yeah, we really came here to hear y'all play Cajun music, not this other music where we can hear anywhere. And as we began to realize that this is what makes us special, is this really unique thing we have here in Louisiana that no one else has. And the more we travel, the more we realize that we have a special thing already. We don't need to try to add more spices and keep changing it.
Well, it seems like a lot of bands now are pushing the envelope. Fofoley's got an organist, and where is the culture going?
Well, if you let the culture, if you hold it back, then it's just going to die. You have to allow it to just kind of grow on its own, but then again, you can't push it and force it to grow. We believe that. It's got to happen naturally. Like, we think that what makes this music unique and interesting is we have the Cajun accordion, and we sing in Cajun French. Those are two very big elements, and the fiddle dynamic with the accordion, that's got to be there, And then each guy has their own input. Like, he's playing his style of guitar, and he loves all that. He can tell you more about it. Like, he does solo guitar, where he's just like, David Doucet's a big influence on him, and he'll take like an old Cajun song, like Parlez Avoine, let's talk about drinking, and he'll switch up, do it real kind of old-timey with like almost like old-time music and minor keys and things. And he does it on banjo.
I think one way to put it would be like we have a lot of the same influences as a lot of our counterparts in other cultures all across the country and the world. The thing that makes us different is that we share this Cajun background that we didn't just get in this band and then have to go do homework like to learn all the classics. Like, we grew up, when we met each other, we all knew we had this core vocabulary of music to draw from that I think makes us very unique, because we don't have to fake it. Like,
and what we hate too is bands that they don't have any energy. They've lost their will to play. They're just up there playing. They look bored. Like, if that's ever us, then please retire. Because when I watch a band, like, we were talking about Cedric the other night. He's a great example of this. Like, he gets on stage, he loves what he's doing. He's having fun. His energy, his heart's in. He's always trying new stuff. Like, that is what makes this folk music great. Yeah. And when the folk music becomes, and the band is bored, and they're just like on borrowed time at that point, no more fun. But this band here, we're always having fun. We love to travel, and it's always just having a good time. And there can be 3 people in the audience, or there can be 3,000 people. With 3 people, it's almost just as much fun, because we're up there just goofing off, having fun, laughing, drinking beers. Like, that's what it's all about. It's because we already love it. It doesn't matter how many people are out there.
I get it.
Yeah.
When I book bands, I look to see who's having a good time.
Yeah.
The bands that look like they're enjoying playing, those are the ones that I book, because I don't want to go. The other bands, I don't want them.
Right.
I mean, if they can't enjoy their own culture,
right?
What's the point of it?
What's the point?
Right. I mean, as cultural ambassadors, you guys have gone around the world.
Yeah.
You've been spreading the joie de vivre of Cajun music.
Right.
What makes, and I'm going to assume, and I think I'm right, that people respond really positively.
People always love the fact that they're smiling and having a good time. And it's not about like smiling and jumping and cutting backflips on stage. You can play accordion and never smile, but you can still tell that guy loves what he's doing. He's just putting out some kind of love of his music. Then you can tell the guys who just don't really care about it anymore. You know what I mean? It's not about smiling and showing off this crazy energy that's not real. When it's real, like, it's like you can sit down, never smile, never look at the audience, but that guy loves what he's doing,
Yeah.
you know. And it's like my dad's like that. You look at him, he looks like he's pissed off playing the accordion up on stage, but actually he loves it to death. It's just like he doesn't feel the need like he has to force a smile. If it happens naturally, it does. You know what I mean?
But the passion comes across.
The passion comes across, and you know these people love it.
Yeah.
It's just humans are so they can pick up on those little tiny subtle things that really, shows that the people love it, or they're just doing it as a job. And music should never be a job. It's great we have been able to make money, a full-time living from it, but it should never actually. You shouldn't depend on that. Like, oh, if I don't get this gig, I can't pay my house bills this week. That was never the way it should be.
Right.
We never planned on that. We just started playing music, got kicked off campus, got an agent, made a record, and went to Europe. Like, that all happened within 1 year. None of that was planned. It just so happened. Like, I never said, I'm going to be a full-time accordion player and I want to start traveling to Europe. Never happened, ever. So I think not making all those grand plans. Like my dad says, these guys would come in and they'd print all these like 8x10 glossies of their face. And before they even had a band, they would just like go hand them out and stuff. They were all concerned about the image way before they were concerned about how good they are, how good the music is.
Why is it that people just internationally respond to Cajun music so positively?
We've been to Europe many, many, many times. We've done 6 State Department tours, and the farther east we go, the more crazy they go over the music. We've been to Saudi Arabia and places like that where they pick up on this living culture. They understand that this is something lacking in the whole world. You travel around, like, look at the rest of America. They're so bored, they got nothing else to do. They're just all nitpicking and fighting with each other because they don't have their own musical culture. We in Louisiana, musicians, Cajun people, we have such a diverse and interesting, strong culture here that all my friends, we don't bother with all that stuff, because we're so steeped in what we got going on here. And I think the world and the country is lacking that identity, this cultural identity, and they don't have that. So when we travel and they see that we have it, especially in places like France where they speak French and they understand, in Canada, they just go crazy over it because they wish they had that. They wish they had this musical culture. And so we're very lucky to have such a thing. And the more we travel, we can show these people like, y'all, this is not just a museum piece. We're not just up here playing, archaic music. Like, we would be doing this at my house right now or at his house on the porch, barbecuing, drinking some beers for our friends, or we're going to do it on the road, whatever happens, and people love that there's such a living culture, and they miss that.
Does it feel different when you sing in French than when you sing in English?
We sing almost always in French. I find French is much more poetic and way easier to rhyme than in English. And if you don't say the words right, no one knows because most people don't speak French anyway. And if you're really having fun, you can be singing like kind of
About the people.
or like some dirty lyrics or whatever, and they won't even know what's going on. Like, we got a few dirty songs we sing every now and then.
Because I started singing in French. I didn't start singing in English. So when I started to sing in English, it was very hard for me to do. So it took me a few years to figure that out. So I remember one lady said, when I first started, you sound so different when you sing in English. Which is funny because it's my native language is English, of course. And I was like, well, thank you, I guess. Maybe. But no, that's been a few years. So yeah, it's taken some practicing to get used to. But definitely easier to sing in French.
I look at this place and this language and the food and everything from a third person perspective, like this, because my mom's from Virginia, my dad's from here, and I like to see, like, if I were from another spot in the United States and I saw what was going down here in Louisiana with this vibrant culture and all the music festivals and the amazing food and all the beautiful girls and dancing and la 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 la. If I saw all that, like, I would do what everyone else is doing. I'd move down here because that's exactly what they're doing. Like, they come down here, I'm gonna go check out Louisiana this weekend, and like a year later they bought a house and they're living here. And then June and July come along and it's 100 degrees and mosquitoes and like, what did I do?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got you. So, when you're playing live, what techniques do you use to connect that audience, to get them moving, to get them to feel that connection?
Well, every audience is different. We play at La Poussiade in Burbridge, and you play a two-step, no one even looks at you. You play a waltz, and everyone throws their canes down, and they all start boogieing. They're like running in laps on the dance floor. You don't even need to make a connection. They already got it there. Every dance, every crowd is different. And you got to play a couple songs and try to connect them. You do concerts, where they're just staring at you like you're fishing in an aquarium, like, and you're trying to make them laugh, or you're trying to do something, trying to just connect with them. it's not easy sometimes because they've seen me bomb. I'm up on stage, I'm like telling jokes, trying to crack the ice, whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen, and you can hear a pin drop. And those nights, just like, all right, I give up. I'm just gonna keep playing music, whatever. So every audience is different, and it's like you guys came to the show tonight because you love Cajun music, so you already know they love it. So at that point, anything you do is going to be golden because they're here to hear Cajun music, and they're just excited to get a dose of Cajun music because, like I said, especially on the West Coast and up in the Northeast in New England, it's insane. I mean, the crowds and the people, they just love Cajun music. It's just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to beginning musicians in this culture?
Well,
young or old? I mean, whenever they take up.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I mean, my dad always says if you can't spell a word, don't buy a typewriter. So many musicians, they go buy an instrument and they try to learn it and play it, but they don't know they don't have the song in their head. You know what I mean? Like, if you can't hum it or you can't whistle the melody, then first learn that, then try to play it. You know. And my dad said, like, don't even touch an accordion or a fiddle or whatever until you have all that in your head. You know, just go to a jam session. Don't try to look at your own hands and play it. Like, just observe and soak it in. That's how all the great musicians, all their entire lives, you name them, they were just immersed and steeped in this music. And they heard it all. So by the time they actually picked up the accordion, like Drew can say for himself, that the first time he picked it up, he could play it immediately because he had all music. His brother he played drums with his brother. He could play it immediately. Jean, the same thing. Like, he picked up the accordion and immediately he was able to figure out all these songs because he had it in his head. You know, it's just like, it's not an accident. It's just that they've been steeped so long, it's already in there.
Yeah.
Like, so there are no banjos here, and just as an experiment, I got a banjo from a friend of mine in Virginia, just to see if I could figure it out. And of course, the first songs that came to me were the ones I knew best in my head, and they were all Cajun songs. Like, anytime I pick up a new instrument, the first thing I instinctively try is Jetés au Bal, 'cause that's like the melody that's the most in my head. I think if you want to be a Cajun, if you want to play this kind of music, just, like Wilson learned from his dad, like, just listen to it a lot.
And if you love it, then it shouldn't be work. Like, you see people like, well, how long do I have to listen to it before I can play? It's like, no. You love the music, don't you? So just listen. When you're driving your car, when you're riding on your tractor, whatever, put on some headphones and just listen to it. And that's all you got to do. You don't have to, like, even listen that intently. It's going to get in your brain, just like the way English got in your brain. Like, did you try to learn English? No, it just got in there through immersion. Same thing with the music.
Well, if you want to write, read.
Read a lot.
So,
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
you guys seem really happy together.
We haven't seen each other in a while.
And you seem even happier together when you play.
You bet you fool.
Yeah, that is the best.
Uh-huh.
Whoever wants to answer, any and all, what's one of your happiest memories playing music together?
I don't know. I enjoyed those the State Department tours we did. That was really cool because we were in a place we never ever thought we'd go. We go to these places. Honestly, some of these places I still don't know where they are on the map.
Same way.
Yeah, like Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan and the Stan country. I don't know. We were 5 of us in this place where a lot of these people had never even heard live music, let alone Cajun music. So when we went, that was, that's the first time they ever heard, probably even seen a band, and then we played that. I enjoy those moments because it's kind of one of a kind, and I enjoy all the moments,
Especially those countries. No Cajun band is gonna go there. Most Americans when I go there, so we're saying, we're
It's like, y'all want to go? Sure, I guess.
Yeah.
Sounds fun.
Where?
where's I never heard of these
Where's
countries.
And some of them were tough,
Yeah.
Oh, man.
For me, I think my most memorable moment, we were in Uzbekistan, and I tell this story a lot. One thing he loves to do is go crowd surfing. And we were playing one night, and there were about 3,000 kids. It was a very, very young audience, and there was like smoke machines and laser shooting all over the place, and like lights, and it was like the most like big production in Uzbekistan, right? in this big concrete amphitheater.
Yeah, we had to
and
be-
we're there jamming, like playing piano. Tom's like in the crowd, and there's like kids getting on stage, and there's like policemen grabbing the kids and throwing
Felt like
them
the
into this
Beatles.
mosh pit. Right.
Yeah.
Felt like the Beatles.
And so he's like, dude, I'm gonna go crowd surf. I'm like, all right, go. And I'm playing piano.
And I'd already been crowd surfing a few times
Yeah.
successfully.
So he takes all his gear, his earbuds, and all his bass and strap and all that, and he starts running. I'm like, oh, yeah, this is so cool. Yeah. It's like in slow motion. And he jumps in the audience, and all these people, but they all get out the way. And he just goes into the audience, and I'm like, oh.
And then down.
Oh my God. He just hit the concrete, and he is probably dead. And like, I guess I gotta, I'm like an autopilot now. I'm like, I guess I gotta stop. And I'm like, all of a sudden, all these girls like just picked him up, and he just floated to the top, and he was like riding this wave on his back of all these like Uzbekistan people, and everyone was screaming, and he threw him back on stage, and it was a great night. At the end, all these kids, they were like trembling, they were coming to take their pictures with us, and that night we got like 1 million friend requests from all these Uzbeks who their profile picture was like us and them. That's how much I meant to them. They all changed their profile picture. Now I have like 50 friends and I can't even pronounce their names.
Yeah.
Just all these Uzbekistan people. They just love the music that much. It was just insane. They had never heard Cajun music ever in their life. To me, that's my most memorable moment.
Yeah,
of the band.
definitely.
And then one night we played for a bunch of Saudi Arabian women.
Mhm.
Like he said, I mean, you swear we were the Beatles.
Mhm.
I've never ever heard the women. Normally, they're very reserved. They can't take off their masks and all this. And that night, they're all by themselves. The women come in first. No, sorry, the men came in first, and the men ignored us. They were all like playing on their cell phones and
Yeah.
talk on their phones while we were playing. And then they all left. All the women came in, and they just went insane over Cajun music. You'd swear we were the Beatles. I mean, that was in Sharjah in the United Arab Emirates, and back in 2009, his first trip out of the country, I think. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Welcome to the band.
Yeah.
Love Saudi Arabia.
Welcome to the band.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, this has been an honor. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Yeah. This is fun.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's do it again.
In fact, let's do it again now because
Yeah.
they actually weren't recording. That was just a sound check. Sweet. Anything else, or?
Not for me. I never tell these guys what to do. They tell me what to do, and it works a lot better that way.
True story.
We seem to have it under control.
We yeah. Let's do that. Let's do
Fiddle
that.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to do it in here? Same thing?
Wherever.
That's fine. We already got the lights set up.
What are you guys gonna do?
So Drew and Thomas going to do the fiddle job?
Hey, I've been looking at my fiddling, so I was like, you know what?
You can. If someone wants to play the company,
I know,
that's
I
totally
know.
okay.
And